Deep underground, isolated from the elements, thousands of human bodies have completely defied biological decay. Flesh, hair, and even facial expressions survive essentially intact. In ancient Egypt, roughly 7,000 years ago, this preservation was an absolute spiritual necessity. For the afterlife to continue, those souls eventually had to return to their physical vessel. If the body rotted away, the soul had no home, and existence simply ended. The first solution to this problem was a complete accident. When early Egyptians buried their dead directly in the hot desert sand, the arid environment rapidly absorbed all the moisture from the flesh, naturally drying it out before bacteria could break it down. Seeing this natural preservation gave early societies an idea. Instead of leaving the body's fate to chance and the elements, they began actively bioengineering the process. They learned very quickly that moisture is the enemy of preservation, so the first step in their new science was targeted extraction. Embalmers pulled the brain out through the nose using specialized instruments and made incisions to remove the highly hydrated internal organs. The lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines were too prone to rot to stay in the body. Instead, they were dehydrated separately and stored in dedicated vessels called canopic jars. The only organ deliberately left inside the chest cavity was the heart. According to their texts, the gods would weigh this specific muscle on the scales of justice to judge a person's morality. With the primary sources of bacteria gone, the body was buried in a naturally occurring salt compound called natron. Over a span of roughly 40 days, this chemical completely desiccated the remaining tissue. Finally, the dry flesh was coated in perfumed oils and tightly sealed against the environment. Embalmers layered up to 200 to 300 meters of specialized linen around the corpse to lock out any returning moisture. Through trial, error, and intense observation, a random desert phenomenon evolved into a precise, systematic medical science designed to cheat biological decay. As the techniques improved, the practice trickled down through society. Priests, nobles, and eventually everyday citizens purchased preservation packages they could afford. Embalmers even preserved millions of animals, like these intricately wrapped cats, birds, and crocodiles, viewed as divine representatives. This map shows the chronological and geographic spread of these practices, proving the instinct wasn't isolated to the Nile. Long before the pyramids, the Chinchorro people of South America were creating artificial mummies. The map also tracks preservation methods, reaching deep into the Andes and stretching across to China. Different climates offered different tools. While the Incan Empire used the freezing altitudes of the mountains to halt decomposition, European wetlands provided unique chemical conditions, leaving us with bog bodies that have remained intact for thousands of years. The global timeline of mummification eventually fractures as new religious customs took hold. With the spread of Christianity and Islam, the priority moved from physical preservation to burying the dead directly in the earth. The prevalence of these practices shows that while the methods varied based on the local environment, the desire to maintain a physical link to the dead appeared independently across the globe. After centuries buried in sand and rock, these bodies re-entered the global spotlight during the archaeological expeditions of the 19th and early 20th centuries. When researchers opened the untouched tomb of King Tutankhamun in 1922, they found that the ancient oils, resins, and linens had held the body in a state of nearly perfect suspension for over 3,000 years. Today, we don't even need to unwrap the linen to study them. Modern CT scanners and DNA analysis allow researchers to virtually peel back the layers, examining the fragile skeletal and cellular structures without destroying the artifact. Inside, they are finding concrete data. The preserved bone and tissue carry exact markers of ancient diets, the spread of historical diseases, and specific family lineages that text alone could never confirm. The ancient engineers wanted to live forever by stopping the clock on their own decay. They didn't achieve physical resurrection, but they did succeed in transforming their bodies into enduring biological archives that continue to speak to us today.